what are the instructions for this semester, and especially for the next week and the first assignment. So we have to look for weak points in the company. So what is the reason that the company has poor profitability? Because right now what we can see in the case of ArianeSpace, this is an existing company. This is the launch provider, official launch provider for the European Space Agency. So ArianeSpace is not traded on the stock market, but the parent companies are, because it's owned partially by Airbus. I think you know Airbus, so they are building airplanes and other flying things, and also Safran Engines, which is an engine building company, it's the French one. So both of them are publicly listed, and somehow they inherited ArianeSpace. So ArianeSpace organizes launches, they are building launch vehicle, and they are quite useless, as you were able to see the numbers. So we have to look for the issues. So why they have higher costs than they're supposed to have. So I was able to collect their profit and loss statement and also their balance sheets through the Acon database, so we can see the official numbers as a starting point. And also we can think about that, why are not able to generate higher revenues? In this business it will be quite simple, because their launch prices are so high that now they are priced themselves out from the market. So they are too expensive, and that's why they are not able to generate revenues. So we can see that partially it can be an engineering problem, because the platform is too expensive, and it's also not renewable, not even partially renewable. Second problem is financial, not enough investment, but we are able to see that a lot of money was put and invested into ArianeSpace, so we cannot say that this is a poor company, they don't have investors' money. So it can be much more like a managerial problem, or maybe just there is absolutely no vision in this field, and that's why it's much more like a political reason. So the company has, and the sector in Europe has no general objective where to develop and invest. So that's why we have to see that how this market was changing during the last 1.5 decades, because in the past it was practically everywhere. So it was really hard to launch anything because it was really expensive, and you had to wait for years until you were able to get any kind of launching capacity. And that's why we have to understand that how the market was changing, and practically how NASA was changing the market with their investment programs. And also scaling up. So it doesn't matter that we are talking about launching stuff into space, or we are opening a restaurant. So it's always the most important thing is scaling up the business. So you have to increase the number of clients, you have to increase the number of orders, because in this case, this is how you can disperse your fixed costs. If you are just have 1 or 2 orders in a year, practically you just pay to maintain the production capability, and this is not for development, this is just for survival. If you are able to scale up, then you have the chance to grow and to develop further and further as a company. So, growth rate. But the second thing is that, okay, in the past, so if you wanted to launch something into space, it was like you had to choose between satellites, which were several tons, or space probes, which were scientific missions, or you had to launch something into the International Space Station, but it was only finished in 2010. So this is still quite a new market. And since the development of technology, now we can see that satellites started to shrink. So now it's like the size of a fridge, or sometimes it's just a CubeSat, which is 10 centimeters per 10 centimeters. So it can be the size of this screen here sometimes. So we can see that cargo is shrinking. So it can also be a source of revenue by launching and focusing only on the smaller cargoes. So that's why growth rate can be also achieved if you are just focusing on launching small things. You're not collecting 10 millions of US dollars, just millions of US dollars, but still it's a way how you can get money. Also, horizontal or vertical integration. So in many cases, we can see in this segment that companies are starting as a launching provider. So that was Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab is nowadays a public listed company, but they just, at the beginning, they just focused on building a rocket, which is can launch a small satellite into space for $7 million US. And sooner or later, they realized that, okay, they are providing this service, just if they are able to launch 5 times in a year or 10 times in a year, still they have to maintain all their production lines. So they need 3D printers, they need CNC machines, they need engineers to keep on payroll. So they realized that, okay, if they already have a really expensive manufacturing capacity, they started to acquire companies which are focusing on satellite construction. So now we can see that half of their revenues are coming from building parts of different satellites. So they started to become a subcontractor in the market, and also other half of the revenues are coming from launching stuff into space. So sometimes pivoting can be really interesting. Or sometimes outsourcing, or complete outsourcing, or most of the construction can be outsourced. This is what happened with Orbital, because Orbital wanted to be part of this market because they were building different satellite components and weapons in the past, and they realized that NASA put some money on the market, so why not to build an orbital rocket? But they did not want it to develop anything. Practically, they just wanted to integrate stuff together. So they purchased engines from the Soviet lunar program because they were shot in the 70s, so it was easy to buy for cheap. Also, they did not want it to develop any kind of pressure tanks to put fuel them, so they purchased these fuel tanks from Ukraine. They did not want it to develop spacecraft or a cargo vehicle to put or to deliver cargo to the International Space Station, so they purchased this vehicle from Thales, Europe. So it was manufactured in northern Italy. So in this case, they were able to outsource most of the construction, which was not that cheap as it's supposed to be, and it was exploding once during launch, but practically they were able to deliver it most of the time. So you can do it also this way. And at the end of the day, what is really important for us from corporate point of view, that what is happening with the value? Are you able to generate money or not? And also from financial point of view, that how can we deal with the risk? So that's why we have to talk about foreign exchange rate. That's why we have to talk about funding conditions. Because if funding conditions are less welcoming, so we can see that interest rates are increasing, rising, and also we can see that inflation, so costs are also increasing in a highly cost competitive market, then we have to see that, okay, how the company reacts on all of these things. So that's why we have to run different stress tests. So we have to evaluate that, okay, we are building up this company in Excel, And after that, we start to change the external conditions to see that, okay, under which circumstances can we say that the profitability of the company is stable and also the value is meaningful for us. Yeah. Okay, so this hypothetical case study is about ArianeSpace, and as I mentioned already, this is providing launch services for ESA countries. So ESA is a small sister of NASA. Usually nobody hears about it, but European Union and Canada has actually its own space agency, and mostly they are doing things, just they are always in a supporting role. So, for example, when the James Webb Telescope was launched last year, then it was launched on an Ariane 5 rocket. So Europe provided the launch vehicle for that mission. Or when also last year, the NASA went back to the moon with their new uncrewed vehicle, then the service module was European built. So usually ESA is here and there. Also, ESA has its own segment at the International Space Station. Also, they provided cargo services in the past. Just it ended after 6 missions, I think. And also, they have astronauts at the International Space Station. So we can see that it's an important player, just with a terrible marketing. And also, what we can see that Ariane 5, which is right now the main launch vehicle of the company, will be retired soon. So now we are counting back that how many vehicles are still in stock, and they will run out. And as you can see, Ariane 6 supposed to have a debut in 2002 second quarter. Unfortunately, still we are waiting. Now the new deadline is the third quarter of this year. Yeah, in this business, it always happens that projects are in a delay of 1 year delay, 2 year delay. Doesn't matter. Why doesn't matter? Because still ESA, and in many cases NASA, has these contracts where they are paying any kind of cost. So they are covering the cost until they are able to cover it from their budget. And this is what is missing in real life. NASA also introduced the fixed price contracts only in practice only in 2010. And they were saying that, okay, if you are launching cargo to the International Space Station, it was just it was for 2 companies. It was for Orbital, ETK, now this Northrop Grumman, and also for SpaceX. You can get a fixed amount of money. We don't care about what is the rocket. We don't care about the vehicle, so the cargo vehicle. We don't buy anything. We are just purchasing capacity because we need 3 tons of air experiment stuff to the International Space Station, but we don't want to build another space shuttle and to operate it and to maintain capabilities, to service it and so on. It's just a purchase service. So it's up to the company that how they are developing and building everything. Obviously they get a lot of support, technological support from NASA, and also they get a lot of certification exams they get the money and the investments what they were able to achieve the different milestones. So during this case study, ESA would like to introduce something like this. So now costs are not able to run away as it happens in many cases in this sector. So even NASA has this issue because with the Artemis program, they were running over the budget by, if I remember right, it was like $6 billion US. So it's even the launch tower, which was already existing, so they inherited completely from the space shuttle. They had to refurbish it and invest $600 million US on an asset which is already there, just some paint jobs, some wiring here and there. And so, yeah, so we can see that you can burn a lot of cash. And as a company, you can earn also if you are on the other side. But, but right now, in this case study, we have to say that it's over, so they have to be cost competitive. So this is the old vehicle. As you can see, each rocket has this setup. So usually on the side there are solid rocket boosters. It's always, people are using it if their main engines are weak, or if they would like to add the scalability. So if the cargo is heavier, then you can add further solid rocket boosters, and that's why you can add additional thrust. Or you can add additional main engines, and that's how you can scale this thing up. So this is much more expensive, and also there is the second stage on the top, and also the cargo under the fairing, which is this dome at the top. And the new vehicle is supposed to launch this year. Will be the ArianeSpace. This is where they would like to cut the costs in half. So right now, Ariane 5 is sold on the market for 120 million US. Just the problem is that for each launch, member states should add also a $30 million subsidy to the ArianeSpace to maintain their operations, because this is how they remain cost competitive, which is funny or terrible. It depends on. And the engine will remain the same like today, just they are adding more 3D printed components. So this is how they would like to cut back the costs. It's highly general in the industry. So in the past, for example, injectors had, it's like a shower head, where you are sending in all the fuels and also liquid oxygen to the engine, and it had to be manufactured from hundreds of subcomponents. Put them together by hand and check everything again and again. Nowadays you can print it out completely, and also unfortunately I was not able to see it because usually it's characterized as a military secret, so that's why you need special things to check it. But at least I was able to visit ESA on an open day, and they are a leader, at least in the know-how of 3D printing different metals. Just the patents are usually sold on the market, so after that is a general knowledge. But if you are able to check 3D printed metal components and also generally manufactured components, you can see that the amount of metal is also way lower. So it's less heavier, it also contains less expensive metal like titanium or other things. So it means that it's practically cheaper. And also the problem with this thing that it's absolutely not reusable. So once you are launching it, within 10 minutes, this thing will burn in the atmosphere because it goes up for 100 kilometers, then falls back into the ocean. Mostly it could survive, but some parts of it burns up. The second stage, which is delivery of the cargo, it's also falling back just several weeks later. So it's also burning up. The fairing, which is covering the cargo, it also falls back and it's also burning up. And obviously the solid rocket boosters are also falling back and burning up. So practically you are not able to recover anything. So you are building a really expensive vehicle from really expensive components and metals and so on, and practically within 10 to 20 minutes it will be scrap metal somewhere in the ocean. So it's like buying an airplane, traveling it to the, let's say, the United States, and after that cutting it to pieces because we don't need it anymore. So this is quite a wasteful strategy for operations. So what happened in this market? So the NASA introduced this new fixed price strategy. The concept was originally launched in 2006, but as you can see, it's not like traditional venture capital investment because it's a seeding capital. So it means that, first of all, if you wanted to participate, you were able to get funding from NASA. They were not becoming owners of the company, they were just giving you some starting money. And it was like they provided a budget overall of 800 million US dollars. And if you were able to put the similar amount of money into your own company, then you were able to participate. And also you had to have some kind of track record that you were able to launch stuff into space. So SpaceX was quite lucky because they were trying to launch their Falcon 1 rocket, so it was a small rocket with only one engine, and 3 of them were exploding, and the 5th or 4th time they were able to launch it because practically they were able to learn their failures, and also Elon Musk was able to hire Gwyneth Shotwell, who is a really experienced engineer and manager in this industry, so she was able to put the company together, and they were able to participate and get a contract from NASA. And in this case, okay, you get the initial investment and also some tech support, but after that, what matters here that in this case you can get also a market, a potential market for yourself. So they were able to say that, okay, if you are able to reach orbit, then you get this contract that you get additional 12 launches, and you can get this 1.6 million US dollars. So if you are able to achieve an operational product, then your market starts to extend, and also it can be extended further and further. So it's quite stabilizing your demand for your services, and of course you can launch on your own as well. So it's not a special right to use this vehicle, so you can sell your services for other suppliers. Just in this case, they need this kind of capacity. So Orbital Sciences, and later it was merged with ATK, then it was purchased by Northrop Grumman, so their name is always changing. They were the other company, which is quite strange because you were able to find so many different concepts and so on, just nobody had the money to do this investment. The initial several million US dollars to step in the market. And we can see that the schedule was also quite strange because SpaceX got the contract in 2008 to launch. And they were able to achieve orbit in 2010 and also arrive to the space station 2 years later, if I remember well. And after that, they were able to deliver cargo within this contract until 2020. And the second part of the contract was launched already in 2016, while in real life, companies started to deliver in this year in absolute terms. So we can see that, yeah, it's extended in the future. And yeah, they were also lucky. And in the second contract also a third company was added to the game, so this is Sierra Nevada, which is quite strange because they don't have any kind of rocket. So they were developing something which is looking like a small shuttle, but it's only delivering cargo. It can land on its own, but it's launched from rockets. So they had to outsource the launching business, and they are always launching in the next year. So hopefully this year we can see something, because sooner or later they should deliver cargo. And after that, once it was quite a success, NASA launched the second thing, the commercial crew program, because once they retired the space shuttle in 2010, after that they had to purchase seats at the Russian Soyuz vehicle to at least deliver some people to the International Space Station. And at that time everybody was thinking that, oh, it will be really fast because already they are able to deliver cargo, so what can possibly go wrong? And after that, 9 years were passing until SpaceX was able to deliver some people to the International Space Station. Boeing Starliner is supposed to be, not this one? Yeah, this one. Is still not able to do that. So they were launching, so the first launch, nobody is abroad, so obviously because it's a beta test. So autonomously you have to go there, dock in, and after that leave and come back. And what happened in their demo launch, that they were launching the vehicle, and after that it started to burn up all its fuel, and it was falling back to the atmosphere. So it was glitchy. So some programming errors happened when they created the flight computer, and it was thinking differently about this trajectory, because Boeing did not test it as a whole. So there were no system integration tests, just groups here and there put stuff together, and after that they were launching it, because what can possibly go wrong? So Starliner was able to come back, maybe, if I remember right, it was 1.5 years later, after they were able to find all the bugs in the software side, and they were able to do their demo flight, the second run. And now maybe this year we can find the 2 astronauts who will test it, and after that they can start to deliver. So yeah, Boeing is doing his stuff. Yeah. So what happened with the market? So we can see that this business started in 2010, and after that we can see that SpaceX and their commercial launches. So I removed all the military launches, I removed all the scientific launches. Just this is satellites for customers. Market. What we can see that the launch number exploded, and as the market share is increasing further and further, while we can see that for Ariane 5, which was really happy with 30% of the launch market, started to lose competitiveness, and now we can see that last year they were flying 3 times, and that's all. So this is where you have to change the strategy. So if you are looking on the manifest, launch manifest, then this is what we were able to see last year, that there are not so many booked flights. And practically since then, even some missions were removed from Ariane 6 to Falcon 9. So even ESA was moving missions to the US, because, yeah, delay and pricing. If we are checking the estimated prices per launch, we can see that it's 75 million. Okay, 75 million is way lower than 120 million euros. Just the problem is that at the same time SpaceX sells you their services for 56 million or something like this. So still it's not cost competitive.